Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we are just going to be doing a before and after of my veggie garden. A lot of you guys have asked how it's growing, so I'm just going to show you guys. This is my beans that I had planted, and this is the before, and they were little and they took a while to come out. We did have a lot of cold hit us after we had planted, so I think that affected them, and it took them a little longer to start growing and even longer to start producing. So these are all the pepper plants that we had planted in these canvas bags that we got from Amazon, and they have grown tremendously. They are really big, and we have them, all over the backyard just because we need to save some space and we don't have a lot of yard space. So these are perfect. And yeah, look how big they've grown in these little canvas bags. So it just goes to show that you can grow a lot in a little space in an urban environment. You just have to be creative, and we found that this is a great alternative, and we can reuse these little bags for different veggies and put them away after this season is done. We are getting some little peppers, as you can see, and we have a variety of peppers growing. Most of them are very spicy. I didn't do any bell peppers because I haven't had much success growing bell peppers, to be honest. So we just stuck with the spicy peppers and with the other veggies, as you can see. So the rosemary grew really well. This was before when I first planted it, and it grew really nicely. The little piece of basil that was extra that I put in that other container never really grew that well because the squirrels kind of were obsessed with it, but it never really died. It just kind of stayed the same. And I ended up transplanting a little bit more rosemary into that one as well. But overall, they grew really nicely, and I have lots of herbs to dry up. So this was my lettuce when I first planted it. It is small, but it was doing really well. It's a very delicate lettuce. I'm not even sure what kind of lettuce it is, to be honest. And that grew really big, really tall, and you know how it turns into like trees later on. That's pretty much what they grew up to be. Really big, really tall, and I've harvested one so far, and I probably should harvest more. So these were the tomatoes before. Now, not when I first planted them. I can't find that footage for some reason. But yeah, they did pretty good, and they are quite tall. I really need some more time to clean them up and whatnot. On my days off, I try to get into the garden and clean up a bit. But yeah, they are getting quite tall. Those are the cherry tomatoes in the back, and they are like getting really huge, and they're producing so many tomatoes. So yeah, and there's different varieties of tomatoes growing in the backyard. So this is what the kale and the collards look like when I first planted them, and they have grown really, really well. I've had a major issue with earwigs and bugs just eating up everything. So I have had to add a lot of cayenne pepper to the soil. I've added coffee. I'm just trying everything just to, at least get most of my leaves and be able to use them without, giving them up to the bugs. But yeah, for the most part, everything is fine. They did like the dinosaur kale the best, so those ones they kind of decided that they wanted to eat up. But overall, the kale has grown really, really well. I've already started harvesting a lot of the collards because that's what I use for my veggie wrap, so I've been using a lot of those, and I'm starting to use the kale for smoothies and for salads. So here are the container gardening kale that I threw in as well, because I like to put them in the ground, but I also like to make sure that I always have some in a container just in case if one doesn't do very well, the other one will usually do fine. And of course these, the bugs did try to get to, but not as much as the ones in the ground. And my parsley grew like crazy. I've had to really try to maintenance it because it was just growing out of hand. Same thing with the cilantro. The cilantro got too out of hand. I used up a whole bunch, and I think it's done for the season. But this is the parsley, and this is what it looked like before. And then yeah, everything has grown really, really well. I'm really fortunate. And I've harvested quite a bit from here too. The sage is like tall, like a tree. As you can see, super tall, and they were really small before. And the sage took a while to grow, and it's my first time growing it, so I thought maybe I did something wrong, but it just took a while. So you'll notice that a lot of the leaves are yellow here on the kale. We've had way, way too much rain here in Ontario, like tons of rain. So that's really impacted things. This is the first year that I've barely had to water my garden because it's always soaked because it's rained so much. So a lot of the leaves are getting a little bit yellow. And this was my basil just before, and again, this has grown really well. It's like basil trees. I'm really fortunate that it's grown so well. I can make a lot of pesto and use it fresh in salads. So people always believe that if you're in an urban space, you can't grow a lot because you don't have a lot of space. But remember, you can always utilize any type of container to grow your veggies in. And look at these canvas ones. They came from Amazon. They have a handle. You can move them around. They're so handy. You can use them year after year, and they're very inexpensive, and they just came from Amazon. Super simple, very easy. And all of our peppers are thriving in these containers. Next year, we're going to try to grow different things in them, but yeah, they're working out great. So this is just a stinging nettle. I didn't get very much this year, but it's okay. I have other teas to dry. You're supposed to really ideally take it in the spring and use it, but it was really small. So I'm just going to harvest what I can now and use it up for my teas for the winter. So this was just my oregano that came back. It comes back year after year, and I thought, you know, there's very little there. I don't know if it's going to grow very well. Well, look at it. It grew huge. I have tons to dry, and that's more than enough for me and my family. So I was really happy. And this, again, it comes back every year, so I don't have to buy it all over again. So I also use a lot of thyme. This was the lemon thyme that took quite a while to grow. It was not really thriving for a while. But now, you know, the container is full and lush and it's doing really well. It's actually growing really well now. So I can start harvesting it, and I like to add it to my water, and I also make teas with the thyme as well, regular thyme and the lemon thyme. So I added some pineapple mint to my garden, and I usually like to keep mint in the containers just to keep them from overgrowing everything, but I had nowhere else to put it, so I just added it in this corner, and I hope it does not take over, but it's growing really well. Okay, so this is just the regular thyme. I use it, like I said, all the time for teas and for my thyme water. And that's how it looked before, and it has grown in abundance, and I'm cutting it constantly. So it has really, really grown wonderfully this year. I'm really fortunate. And yeah, I use it all the time. And of course I do dry some for the winter as well. So my cilantro here is not doing so hot. I'm going to clean it up and see if I can revive it. I used a lot of it, but now it's pretty much, you know, I think done for this season. And I just have the parsley growing now. And yeah, we'll see. Maybe it'll come back to life. I don't know. And those are the pepper plants in those canvas bags that are just growing huge and tall like trees. So yeah, like I said, you can definitely use canvas bags and a variety of containers if you live in a small space. You could still have a really healthy and wonderful garden. So I'm already harvesting beans from the backyard, not daily yet, but I am harvesting some and adding that to my dishes, using those kale leaves all the time in my collards, and these guys were eaten a little bit, but you know what, I'm still using it. Unless they're totally eaten, I'm still going to use it as a wrap. And I just have potatoes and some green beans in here, and I just wrap it up, and that is a really staple meal for me now, thankfully, because of my wonderful garden. Okay guys, so that is it for today's video. Thanks so much for spending some time with me and checking out my garden. Please remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and like the video, as this helps the channel tremendously. Thank you so much. Health, joy, and positive vibes to all of you, and I will see you in the next video.